Hey folks, so as promised, I'm here to talk about genetics and how they can affect us. But first, I just want to talk briefly about the symptoms that I had starting July 10th. And that made me think that maybe I do have a COMT gene mutation. And this started off by just kind of like a feeling of, uneasiness and adrenaline type rush. That, it's like when you're about to go over the edge of the roller coaster. And you kind of have that rush of energy, and that feeling in your stomach. Except it never stops; it just keeps coming, and it's very uncomfortable and it's a little scary. And it kind of affects your blood pressure. It can affect obviously your mood. And I've done some research into it, and I was exposed to what I know is contaminated water now. I was under a little bit more stress at the time. Initially I was thinking it was kind of like a allergic reaction type thing, and because I'd had these happen before, and I was like, oh, well, maybe it's the the allergies have come back. I gotten rebit by a tick a couple weeks before, like 3 weeks beforehand. I was like, maybe I could be reacting to something I'm taking. I tried eliminating things. I tried adding other things in. I tried cutting out other foods. I went and got retested for the tick allergy through the acupuncturist. They did muscle testing type stuff, and all that. Basically, they said that I was not reacting to the alpha-gal. So, and that was what I most recently had done. So, I started looking at other stuff like genes, right? And the COMT gene came up. Also, just wanted to mention that I went to the doctor and they ran a bunch of regular tests, CBC, complete blood count, and a few other inflammation markers, right? And all this came back, thumbs up, great. I mean, perfect. Couldn't ask for better. And I'm like, that really doesn't help me at all. So, but good to know. And so, anyways, like I said, I started looking at these genetics and these different mutations that can occur. And so basically genes are, they make up who we are. And so you can have different, mutations or SNPs in these genes that make things more difficult for us. That's why some people can eat certain foods and others cannot. Or, some people can deal with stress better and some cannot. So they are kind of a guide. Is how I like to see them. And the reason that they're a guide is because that certain activities, certain things that you do in your life, certain lifestyle, certain foods, certain supplements can actually interact and make it worse, or it can make you better. And actually some things that we know to be good actually end up making this genetic mutation worse over time, as you'll see here in a minute. There are many different genetic mutation or genes or genetic mutation that can occur, and today I'm talking about COMT. There's also MTHFR, there's MAOA, there's a whole bunch of different ones, and they're all in charge of doing different things. Like for instance, COMT is in charge of, which is called catecholomethyltransferase, or basically this gene creates this enzyme to get rid of neurotransmitters, dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, and other catecholamine containing foods, by attaching a methyl group right here. I don't know if you can see it, but pin the methyl group right behind me here, and basically saying, okay, let's get rid of this. Through the urine. The ironic thing is that a lot of these methyl containing foods like garlic, well, not necessarily garlic, but yellow onions, red onions, they actually contain catecholamines. So the methyl group that's in them would have to attach to it to excrete it, the catecholamine. And so basically, if you have a gene SNP in this particular enzyme here, say it's reduced 40% or 80%, you're going to have a buildup of these neurotransmitters over here, right? And so what happens when you have a buildup of these neurotransmitters? Well, they're very excitatory, right? So yeah, you get this excitatory type state, because over time, if you have a reduction in this enzyme, the catecholomethyltransferase, because your body's not building enough of it. You're not going to excrete excrete or get rid of these catecholamines, these neurotransmitters. You end up with higher blood pressure, nervousness, like a shaky type situation. You can have like the shakes or whatever. Depression, anxiety, general anxiety disorder, mania, schizophrenia. All of these are associated with this gene mutation. And ADHD and OCD can also be possibilities when looking at the COMT gene mutation. Now, things that contain catecholamines over here are things like black, green tea, coffee, chocolate, all the good stuff, right? Also, some yellow onions. Apparently, capers also have a lot of catecholamines. I did not know that, but they are the highest containing food out of or catecholamine containing food out of anything. So if you have this gene mutation, avoiding capers might be for you, which I don't like them anyway. So maybe that's just my body telling me, hey, avoid this. As far as supplements go, quercetin definitely contains catecholamines, so you definitely want to be careful taking quercetin, even though it is a great antioxidant. Some other things like mucuna purines, which I just talked about fairly recently, which contains levodopa, as a precursor to dopamine. So that will be something that maybe you might want to avoid as well. And then also I've seen where zinc potentially could inhibit the breakdown of these catecholamines. So I don't know 100% about that. So I think that might be something that you would want to look into at least before taking it. And then also just what can cause these gene SNPs. Well, sometimes you can be born with it that way. You can either get one from your mom or your dad or from both. So you can have a slight reduction or you can have a huge reduction, like 80%. So yeah, you can either be born that way or you can get it through exposure to certain toxins, environmental toxins. So think, water supply, food supply, air supply, potentially, dirty air. You've got like bacterial type infections, viral infections that could, potentially cause this. Anything that causes stress. And I've talked about stress before and the different different ways that you can have stress. You could have really bad, like SIBO, could potentially cause this too. So, which is an overgrowth of bacteria in your small intestines and stomach. Long-term infections dealing with like chronic staph, strep, Lyme disease, certain viruses, like I said, Epstein-Barr. Any of these are going to be a possibility to cause this gene SNP if you're susceptible to it. All I ask from you is just if you know somebody, a friend, family member, maybe they're struggling, going through, a little bit of a health issue right now, something that is chronic or undetermined, or, the doctor says you're fine, but they're still not feeling well. Just make sure that you share my profile with them, just try and reach out to them, because I'd love to connect with them, be able to help them out, in any way possible. And, I'm also just want to say I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose or treat anybody. I'm not a mental health professional, but I'm just talking about stuff that I have learned through my training and my experience and what I've seen work in other people's lives. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed and have a good evening.